Okay, so the lyric at the end of that, it's about how you're treating life, not how life is treating you. It's very serendipitous how songs come and go in this center. This is a song, Doug, who wrote this song?
Jeremy Campbell, who's a member of the Nashville Center for Spiritual Living.
Right, Nashville Center for Spiritual Living. This has not been released yet, right?
Not yet.
Okay,
December.
so it's being released, so we get to hear it first, being released in December in Nashville. And it's very Science of Mind, really. Every week we've had a Science of Mind hit. This is amazing. This is a future Science of Mind country has Western hit. So, next week we'll have a rap song. It'll be just terrific. Fine, yeah, maybe we will. Finally we'll get Johnny up here. So, it's about how you're treating, it's about how you're treating life. It's not about how life is treating you. The title of my talk today is, How's Life Treating You? How's life treating you? So I want you to answer that question for yourself. How is life treating you? Because it is. Life is treating you in some way. It is responding to you perfectly. So how is life showing up for you? You know, this week, this past week, Reverend Rita was in Hawaii. And aloha. And that meant that a lot of what Reverend Rita does in the office was going to fall to me to do. And it was really amazing to kind of go back to the way the church was when it first opened, which was me doing everything, and me running things, and doing the banking, and just really being there, participating more in that aspect of church. And so it was like going back to basics for me. But more importantly for me was that because Reverend Rita was gone, I had to step in and teach her Science of Mind 100 class. And thank you, Dana. And I absolutely loved it. Going back to basics, going back to a Science of Mind 100 class where I am having to really pay attention to how I'm teaching this, so I am teaching it to a newcomer, someone who's sort of just starting out. How can I break this down so simply, make it so simple that we can really understand it? And I thought to myself, and I had the most incredible time. I literally, the first hour went by and I was like, oh, we're done the first hour. It just flew by, for me anyway. I don't know about them. But it flew by for me, and at the break, I said to myself, I was like, wow, it's like I'm learning this all over again. Because I recognize that we can get so far ahead of ourselves. It's why I'm always telling ministers, don't think that you're done studying. Or practitioners saying, you got your practitioner's license. That doesn't mean you're done studying. That means you have finally become to a place where you're ready to start studying. And so this class was really, really, really spectacular for me. And it was like, all of a sudden, an old clarity got to be revisited for me. And it was this very simple thing, this very old saying, change your thinking, change your life. Change your thinking, change your life. Except, as I was going over the charts on the board, I realized that what I taught, what I used to teach in Science of Mind 100, is no longer applicable on some levels, because it's not change your thinking, change your life. That type of understanding of Science of Mind is keeping us all away from our demonstrations. It's not change your thinking, change your life. It's change your beliefs and change your life. Because my beliefs inform my thinking. I only think the way I think because of what I believe. If I believe the world is a scary place, what do you think my thoughts are going to be about? Ooh, scary things. If I believe the world is my oyster, I'm going to go fishing. So it really is about your beliefs, and that's what I really got to. So last week, I talked about God not being a four-letter word, and that the one major belief every single one of us has got to get in touch with is our belief in God. And more importantly, our belief that God is right here. God is right there. That's the major belief. That is our most important belief. And I have this quote by a minister named Aidan Wilson Tozer, born in 1897. He was a Protestant minister, and he spent his entire life teaching about our relationship to God. Now that poses a little bit of a problem for a religious science minister, because I'm not up here talking about my relationship to God. I'm talking about my relationship as God. I'm talking about the relationship I have with myself in understanding who and what I am. And that's the paradigm. That is the next huge bastion that we must all jump over in order to really step into what Jesus taught, which is that I and the Father are one. So for us to jump into that understanding, jump into that truth, everything will change. Everything will change. So this is what he wrote. He wrote, the reason why many are still troubled, still seeking, still making little forward progress, is because they haven't yet come to an end of themselves. You're like, what? They haven't yet come to an end of themselves. He says, we're still trying to give orders and interfering with what's within us to do. Now, we're not Buddhists, and yet we believe a lot of what they believe, and a lot of their philosophy ends up in our teaching. But it's not that I want to burn me away. It's not that I want to throw James away in order of finding something bigger. No, it's actually the exact opposite. It's that I want to delve so deeply into who I am that I come to that place where I actually find out who I am. And that's why when he says here, because we haven't yet come to the end of ourselves, we stop along the way. We stop along the way with the job, with the career. We stop along the way. This is who I am. I'm a minister. Or we stop along the way with the money. This is who I am. I'm rich. Or this is who I am. I'm kind of struggling financially. And we stop along the way. And what he's saying is we need to be willing to, as Jay did when he wrinkled up his old talk from Wednesday, which, by the way, was brilliant, his talk from Wednesday that he throws away, and am I willing to throw it all away and just be? Just step into something that's uncomfortable, perhaps, that I don't know. Am I willing to throw all of that away and step into throwing myself away enough, all that I think I am, into finding out who I truly am? When we don't know who we are, when we don't know that we are God, when we believe something other than the truth that we are divinely identified, we haven't truly, truly come to the end of ourselves and believed once and for all that the I am refers to me and you. I am doesn't refer to God out there. I am, we have been instructed to become the I am because whatever we put after I am is what we are instructing the law to do. And as I taught that class on Wednesday, and I looked at that circle, and I looked at that law, the way it works, and how many people here know what I'm talking about with the circle? Okay, most of you. It's a teaching tool we use about the creative process. And when I looked at that and I went, oh my God, the I am, what I believe really is creating my experience. It really, truly is. So, it is done unto you as you believe. It is done unto me as I believe. Everything I put after I am instructs the law how to create my life. So, I want you to ask yourself, what have you been putting after I am? Because basically that's an instruction to the law to give you the life you have. Thus, the question, how's life treating you? How's life treating you? Life's treating you however you have answered the question, I am ... Ernest Holmes wrote this: by the activity of our thoughts, things come into our life. And we are limited only because we have not known the truth. We have thought that outside things control us, when all the time we have had that within which could have changed everything and given us freedom from bondage. Everyone automatically attracts to him or herself just what he or she is. So Ernest Holmes says to us, you have within you, right here and right now, everything you could ever possibly need to create a game changer. You have everything within you right now in your mind to change everything you want to change about your life. So I have a little story that I will tell on myself. This Friday evening, there was a cast party for the Red Room, and it was in downtown Los Angeles. How many of you have gone to downtown Los Angeles on a late Friday night? Okay. I haven't. And I was comfortably ensconced on my couch with a little blanket over me, watching television and, just having this lovely, quiet Friday evening. And then my son and I got into this discussion about gossip, which was not pleasant. Because he's 13, and all of the kids at their school are gossiping, and I'm trying to pay attention to the TV, but also the texts are flying back and forth in the room all around me. And I'm like, what are you all texting? And they started to tell me this story about this girl at school, and I was like, you do know that's gossip, right? They went, I know, it is so cool. And I said, but guys, don't you know that gossip is really a dangerous thing? And they were like, no, gossip's fun. We're just learning about gossip. I was like, oh. I said, all right, TV off, lecture time. Always a fun Friday evening. So, Friday evening with the minister. So, I started to talk to them about gossip and what gossip meant and how you can lose your friends over gossip and blah, 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 blah. And it got a little heated. And I was losing. Clearly, I was losing this argument. And then Kevin came home, and he walked into it, and he goes, what is going on here? Because Nora she was like on a platform. Actually, no. Nora agreed with me, which made it even worse for Will, because now he had two of us agreeing. And he was just like not hearing that the gossip was not a bad thing. So Kevin comes home, and he goes, don't you need to go downtown L.A.? And I'm like, oh, my God, no, I don't want to go. I'm not going. And then I knew I had to go. So I got up, and I got dressed, and Nora, as only Nora can do, she goes, isn't it amazing you can throw clothes on and look that good so quick? And after I said yes, I said, what do you want? And she wanted extra TV time. So, anyway, so I get in my car, and I go to drive down to Los Angeles, downtown Los Angeles. And I am in a mood. I am in a state. And those of you who were at the party, you probably didn't see it because it was gone by the time I got there, sort of. And I drive downtown. Now, when I hit downtown, I have never, ever, ever, ever been in this part of our city at like 11 o'clock at night. And but amazingly so, because I do have the consciousness of parking, I get a parking place like pretty close to where this party is. I know, unbelievable, right? So I park, I get out of my car, and all of a sudden I'm like, goosebumps everywhere. I'm like, where am I? And I'm looking around and I'm seeing really strange people. Like a lot of strange people. Like, it's really alive down there. Lots of people and bars overflowing. I was like, oh my God, this is like New York City back when. And I'm looking around thinking, and I start walking, and I'm so in my thoughts, I am so in my world of form that I passed the building where the party is. And I'm just walking. It doesn't even occur to me that everybody looks weird, because it's Halloween. And I'm just thinking, my God, these people that live downtown. And I am walking, and I'm walking, and here's what happens. I end up walking past the activity of the city, and I'm looking for the addresses, and I'm looking for the addresses, and all of a sudden I realize I'm in a part of town. I walked like for 5 minutes, and I knew I parked in front of the building, and I'm walking, and it was just a little quiet, and there were no people. And I look back, and I see the lights and all the people, but I'm like, no people, and I get that chill over my body. And those of you who were in my class this week know that I've had that experience once before, and it ended up being going well. And so I just turned around, and I in that moment I had this huge science of mind message. I was like, this is what happens in life. We know we're walking in a direction that isn't really serving us, and we just keep walking. Because we just don't want to turn around and remember what it is we know, which is that the Halloween party's that way. And so I walked back, and I found the building. And I walked into the building, and all this is really about your mind creates your experience. So let's face it. I am now living the life I have been creating all night and all day. So I get to the building, and I walk in, and I say the person's name where the party is. He goes, what apartment is it? And I'm like, no idea. He says, I can't give you an apartment. And people are coming by me. Draculas and witches are coming by. And he said, there are a lot of parties going on in this building. I can't just let you in the building. And I look like Mr. Normal, and I'm thinking, I'm really okay. And he says, sorry, you can't. So I call Brad Blaisdell, and he gives me the number of the apartment. So I go up. They're not even there yet. I am now in this very strange building, very, 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 very urban. And I'm knocking on the door, and no one answers. And I'm on this floor where there's no activity, no people. And I'm just knocking on this door, and I'm like, unbelievable. This is like no exit. And I was like, okay, let me just figure this out. So I call, and they're at a party like around the corner, and so I come back out of the building, and I go around the corner, and I join them. And then thus began a really beautiful evening, a really fun evening. By that point, it was 11:30. And we go, and we have the party, and it's a wonderful party, and I had a great time. And I left to go home. And I went down to my car, and I stood there, and all of a sudden, it was like about 2:30 in the morning, and I thought to myself, how's life treating you, James? You have had such an amazing day of ups and downs, of fear and certainty, and it's all taken place in this one mind of yours. Meanwhile, it's still very loud and very crazy, and people are coming by, and a lot of them are wearing masks. And all of a sudden, I hear this person yell out, trick or treat. And I just laughed. I thought to myself, trick or treat? And I stood there and I leaned against my truck, and I just stayed there for about 5 minutes thinking about this concept of trick or treat. And life only treats us based on our ability to give life exactly what it is we want. Now, did I really want to experience everything I was thinking that night? No, I really didn't. So what did I have to do? I had to decide to tell myself, my mind, what it is I wanted for the rest of the evening, as though there was going to be a rest of the evening at 2:30 in the morning. But there was a drive home. And there was still me standing there, surrounded by a lot of people in masks. And I thought to myself, somehow, with a hand on my hip, I was defiant. I was like, watch this. I thought, somehow, you, at the age of 58, have landed on one of the biggest nights of the year for Halloween celebrators, a Friday night of the holiday weekend, in downtown LA, a place you never go, surrounded by a lot of people celebrating, and there were a lot of people laying on the ground, too, having over-celebrated. And here you are standing here in a place you've never been in your life. How did you get here in this moment? Have you ever asked yourself that? When you're just standing somewhere saying, how did I get here in this moment of my life? And what is there to know here? What is there to know here? And every single one of us should stop at any point we want and just ask ourselves, first, how did I get here? And two, what do I need to know? What's here for me to know? And here's what I got. Trick or treat, right? So I hear trick or treat. Last Wednesday when I taught the class, it was very clear, very simple. I'm conscious, I'm a mind, I'm conscious mind. I speak my truth into a law, a subjective law, meaning it's subject to my conscious mind. And when I tell it what I want, I tell it what I mean, I tell it what I know, I tell it what I believe. Out comes my experience. I have been saying to myself for months now, you need to mix it up, James. You need to go places where you don't normally go. You need to branch out and see people and see how other people live that maybe don't live the way you live. Well, I demonstrated that on Friday night. The law does whatever we bid it to do. Here's the deal, though. When we treat, talk about trick or treat, when we treat, we speak our truth into the law. And sometimes the law has to trick us in order to give us exactly what it is we asked for. So trick or treat, treating for me. Now, when you go up to someone, when you were a kid and you were trick-or-treating, you went to someone's house and asked them for their what? Candy, for the good, right? So you're asking for good. Okay. So, when we treat and ask for our good, Sometimes the universe has to trick us to get our good to us because we are so busy filling our minds with crap. Like candy. I know, I really went there. I mean, just think about that. Some of the things that are going on in your life, and it's exactly what Jay was talking about. Some of the stuff that's going on in your life that you didn't like, that you don't like. How many of you trick-or-treated and threw out, didn't you go home at the end of the night, throw it all on the floor and throw out the things you didn't want? Okay, so how many of you have things in your mental bag that you would like to throw away? Exactly. We all do. Things that we just want to separate. No, this is my good. This isn't so good for me. I don't want this. This isn't to my liking. So we've got a system in place, a divine system in place, call it trick or treat, that when we treat, sometimes the universe has to trick us, has to find a way to get an argument started about gossiping, so that you have to get into a car and drive downtown, thinking about gossiping the whole way, get out of the car, think you are in a strangest place on earth, you forget it's Halloween, everyone's dressed up crazily, and you just think you landed on another planet. And then, because you're still thinking of other things, you walk past your good, because you're still thinking about that annoying thing. And then you land somewhere and you're scared less. And you're like, oh my God, how did I get here? You know how you got there? Guess how you got there. How's life treating you? Life's treating you exactly the way you asked it to treat you. No matter what's going on in your life, life is treating you exactly the way you asked it to treat you. However, I also have a firm belief. Yes, I won't leave it there. I have a firm belief, an absolute belief, that my good is always unfolding. Always, always, always. My good is always unfolding. So even though life gets me places that I don't perhaps care to be in that moment, I do know, as my life is unfolding for my highest good, I must be willing to understand that trick or treat aside, it's unfolding perfectly. And so what I ask you to do today is to take a look at your life. And when you ask yourself, how's life treating you? How's life treating you? You take a look at it as an informative piece of information. Just take a look. Life is treating you the way you've asked it to treat you. And if you don't like what you see, well, life may just be in the process of tricking you into finding a way to trick you into your highest good. And what you can do at this moment is just say, I no longer need the trick. I'm only interested in the treat. I'm only interested in my highest good. Here's what Ernest Holmes said. He said, wake up! He says, wake up! Your word is all-powerful. Your consciousness is one with the omnipotence. Your thought is infinite. Your destiny is eternal. Your home is everlasting heaven. He says, wake up! Realize the truth that you are living in a perfect universe. It always was perfect, and it always will be perfect. Wake up. So, is that how you see the world? Is that how you see the world? Do you see the world as perfect? Because here's the deal. If you treat the world as perfect, watch what happens. If you treat yourself as perfect, watch what happens. If you treat by using the truth, watch what happens. So as we celebrate Halloween this week, as we celebrate this rather interesting holiday, I ask you to really ask yourself all week, how is life treating me? Where am I in my life? If religious science does anything, it teaches us to be conscious. It teaches us to be honest. And it teaches us to be fearless. I fear not looking at how life is treating me. Because I'm clear that life is treating me based on how I am treating it. And now I can change it up. I can do whatever it is I want to do. Ernest Holmes says, it is up to us to take our good. And that means taking our good no matter where we find it. So as you get dressed up this week, how many people are getting dressed up this week? You're like me. Okay, so not a lot of you are getting dressed up. So as you look at all the people around you this week that are dressing up, just recognize this. Just recognize this simple truth. As you're looking at the masks and you're looking at all the costumes, I think it's time for us, as the quote said, to lose ourselves, to lose our masks, to lose our costumes, to lose all of this stuff that we call our personality, our identity, to lose all of it and really own and really claim this thing called God that we are. And then really get it, that if we treat ourselves to the truth, we absolutely treat ourselves to the truth, and we absolutely go door to door saying, here's my good, hand it to me. The universe cannot help but handing you your good. So, trick or treat. Treat for your highest good, knowing that that's what you are, and just understand your life is unfolding perfectly, and sometimes the universe just has to trick you to get you exactly where you need to be. But don't ever let go of the truth. The truth is, as we say at the top of the service, right where I am, God is at all times. Namaste. Thank you.